Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 7 of the UK and Ireland Monday Night Skippys in support of the Calm Zone live here on RaceSpotTV. Tonight we are racing for, I lost my mind, some sort of laps, 20 laps around Oran Park Raceway, 1.62 miles in length, 12 turns, and we have currently 32 cars signed up for today's event. 6 races into the season so far, and it looks like Benny Simonsen is taking charge of the championship with 3 wins out of the 6 races, and then Nicholas Von Roberts, Ewan Pattinson and Simon Edwards with 1 each, but we're only halfway, so still a lot of things that can happen. Currently going through qualifying here as well, 2 minutes left for all the drivers to complete their 4 laps, and it looks like pretty much most all of them have done it so far, and it's Anthony PM Jones currently on pole position. My name is Linus Bergström, and I am joined today by Daniel Harris. Daniel, welcome to the Skippys. It's a pretty tricky track this. I think we're in for another fantastic race here in the Skippys.
Oh yes, I've seen a lot of people saying that turn 1 is treacherous going in that Skippy car. It is definitely going to be an interesting race to see if they all get through turn 1.
Definitely is, and unlike most of the other tracks we go to this season, there is only one straightaway here where you can gain some draft. Other than that, it's just turning back and forth, and there is actually a crossover here as well, one of the very few tracks next to Suzuka and a couple of others. Unfortunately, this track doesn't really exist anymore though, so we'll have to enjoy it on iRacing while we can. 1 minute left of qualifying still, and looks like Simon Thorns is pretty much the only driver who's yet to set a time, as well as Will Redford, who joined in really late, so he will basically have this lap, and when that is complete we will know exactly where he is. Other than that, it looks like Anthony PM Jones is going to get pole position ahead of Adam Miles, but we're just going to let everybody finish their laps up. Here is Daniel Tufts. He's actually on his 5th lap, so I'm not too sure this is going to count, as he puts it in the wall as well. Not really the way you want to go, but if your lap won't count anyway, you might as well. Here we have Simon Thorns as well. See what he's going to do. He is out on his 5th lap without having set a time actually, so he won't make it either, and with 20 seconds left of qualifying and no one being close to the start-finish line, I would say that is about it for qualifying, as we have Will Redford here coming to start his first lap, but time is up, so sorry buddy, you'll have to start at the back.
Look at that gap between 1 and 2, 0.015, 15 hundredths of a second between Adam Miles and Anthony Jones.
That is outstanding. Anthony PM Jones clinching pole position here, going for his 2nd win of the season ahead of Adam Miles. Benny Simonsen in 3rd, 1.5 tenths behind, so massive gap there. Then Simon Edwards in 4th, Nicholas Von Roberts in 5th, and Ewan Pattinson in 6th place, with Nathan Wade in 7th, Martin Booker in 8th, Clark Williams in 9th, Seth Brown in 10th, George Mattock in 12th, Andrew Baranowski in 12th, Mattock in 11th, sorry, and then Kevin Budge in 13th, Ray Peasley 14th, Daniel Tufts in 15th, Dave Dowse in 16th, Mud Kiko in 17th, Ricky Shaw in 18th, Dave Kirkman in 19th, and Christopher Miles rounding out the top 20. The rest of the grid is gonna be up on your screen momentarily, and we have 32 cars here today, and for such a small track there's only 27 that have set a time, but behind those we have Neil M. Andrews, Will Redford, Aaron Taylor, Phil McDougall and Simon Thorns, and having 32 Skippys around the track that is as small as this, that is bound to make for a good race, and maybe even a little bit of a crash somewhere.
Yeah, definitely coming into turn 1, I think, is where there's going to be a prime spot for incidents, I think. That and around the middle sector, where you have a couple of off-camber turns coming in a bit blind as well.
I think everybody's on the grid though, red lights are on. And we are racing at Oran Park. Looks like 2nd place was a bit out of position. They're pretty far off to the left, but still a good start from Adam Miles. We got some 3 wide going on further back here, and then the very last cars actually, Thorns and Catmore, they had a pretty slow start, but at the front Anthony PM Jones is taking charge. Benny Simonsen goes up the inside of Adam Miles, and Simon Edwards
That's a good move.
back past Nicholas Von Roberts.
It was a good move by Benny Simonson up the inside. Oh my word!
No, there is the big one. That's 7, 8, 9 cars, 10 cars even involved in that one. Wow,
That's a
what
big
happened
traffic
there?
jam.
That involved the Chris Wright, Simon Thorns, Markiko, Tim Adcock, I believe, Mark Cadmore again as well. That was a lot of cars involved in that one. Will Redford, I believe, had to stop there as well. Aaron D. Taylor, Kirkman Clapham, that was a lot of cars out of the race already. Well, they're going to keep on going, maybe bring out a spare car, but that means we're going to see some lapping happening pretty quickly. Here's Benny Simonson is right on the back of Anthony P.M. Jones here, coming to complete lap number 1. It's a really short lap here, just over a minute and 12 seconds, 13 seconds, so this one's definitely going to fly by. Coming out of the final corner here onto the straightaway is a bit of a downhill, so while you get the draft you also get some pretty good speed from that downhill. Then coming into turn number 1 is a bit of a kink. He's going to have a look to the inside, Benny Simonson, and he will take the lead before they get to the braking point. He's actually even going to be clear. PM Jones slots in behind as they come into the second corner here, but the front three looks to have been have pulled a little bit of a gap there back to Simon Edwards in 4th.
Yeah, it looks like they probably want to get away from that, especially with how fragile these Skippy cars are. As now we see that replay of that incident in turn 1. See what happened. Oh, just gone into the back of him. I reckon he locked up, and he's tried, and everyone just doesn't know how to deal with it, do they? Oh, that is
last
chaos.
car coming in very late. They're not applying the brakes at all. It just looked like Constantina effect. Somebody braked a bit earlier than expected and got ran over from behind, and then it's just a roadblock. You normally see that on street courses, but it's a pretty small track this as well, so bound to happen at some point. The leader is still pulling away. You can see all the cars going really wide over the curb here, sideways over the crest. A couple of cars going in the gravel, but not too bad. There is looks like pretty much everybody's sliding around there, but with such a short race you don't really have to look out for the tires, so I guess it's a good way to get heat in them as they're coming to complete lap number 2 here. Still Simonson, PM Jones and Miles looks like he's fallen a little bit behind here as PM Jones and Simonson are going at it up ahead, but he closes in the braking zone there, so right back to them. And Simon Edwards is keeping hold of the back of Miles there as well. It's just over a second behind now as he's fending off Nicholas Von Roberts, but they're not really lost the front 3 yet, so still got a pretty big gap here from first, or pretty big group all the way from first down to 12th, where Andrew Bernowski is at the moment. Miles all over the back here of PM Jones though, as Jones is looking for an opening on Simonson, but this is not really a place where you want to be making an overtake, so he'll have to just wait. Coming down over the hill down to Foster's Dip, then up into Momo Corner. There's a lot of up and down for being such a small track as well.
Yeah, the undulations and the constant changing really has that sort of weird effect on the car where you sort of don't know if you can throw it in hard enough, and that's a nice recovery there. A nice drift from Nathan Wade in P7.
It's a wrong sport, Nathan. So you don't do that in the Skippys. Still going though, didn't lose anything, still running in 7th, but he lost a bit of ground there to 6th place Ian Pattinson, as we're on board here now with Clark Williams, who's in 9th right behind Martin Booker, having a look up the inside of Nathan here. Going to be side by side into the kink. He's going to back out, and looks like Clark Williams is going to back out as well to give him that 8th position. Not wanting to go side by side here into Coca-Cola Corner now under the bridge. Then down into Shell, and there's some side by side action going on behind as well, but Booker up to 7th place. Seth Brown passes Baranowski just behind. We're on board here with Baranowski, who dropped down to 12th, and it's a massive train here still. 7th all the way down to 14th now, as a couple of cars is caught up to the back of this group. So there's a trio at the front, and then another trio, and then this group of about 8 cars. So a lot of positions to be made here from Baranowski if he can get a move on. The front 3 though pulling away slightly from the next 3. You can see them there. There's no big gaps, but still just over a second as Simon Edwards disappears over the hill chasing Adam Miles. He's got Von Roberts and Pattinson right behind him as well, so have to look in the mirror as well as look out ahead of him. And well, it's not a big gap. He should still be getting some draft coming down the straightaway.
Yeah, should be getting a bit of draft. Doesn't look like he was close enough. He's going to move to the inside, going side by side into that kink, and then into turn 1 is a terrifying task to do safely, let alone in the Skippys, where if you make that little bit of contact, you know you're going to take out both you and your rival that you're racing against. But they're doing pretty well here. I reckon everyone who's sitting behind the other person in front can see how many mistakes these drivers are making. They're probably just waiting to see a mistake that they can maybe capitalize on.
Adam Miles that time by though set the fastest lap of 1:13.747. That was 3/10 quicker than Simon Edwards, but it does not really look like the gap is opening up all that much. Still on board here with Pattinson, you can just see how much up and down and left and right this track is constantly, always having to work your car back and forth, trying to keep as much grip as possible, and they abuse these curbs as well. Wide, collecting gravel and grass pretty much everywhere, so it's a bit more lenient here on the track limits than it is in Spa. Gets two wheels in the grass there, it almost loses it on the braking point, but I think he noticed it and let off the brake slightly, so see what happens this time to the gap. It's 1.3 seconds from Adam Miles down to Simon Edwards. Here comes Nicholas Von Roberts now up the inside of Simon Edwards. He's going to get 4th position as Pattinson is looking to almost go 3, but he's going to dive up the inside of Edwards to try and capitalize on that as well, but wisely backs out, so Edwards only down to 5th now. Von Roberts is up to 4th, and that is going to let the front 3 guys pull away a couple more tenths there, as they are still just running nose to tail up there. So once again we see the front guys working together to try and get away, as we have Simmons, and I believe that was wide in the grass there. Not going to lose out too much though, but definitely not something you want to do too much of.
Yeah, next lap I reckon down the straight, Pattinson is going to make that move on Edwards for sure. Really giving it a good sniff behind him, wanting to get past him, because I think he's probably holding him up at this point. Because it does look like Vaughan Roberts is actually getting away a little bit from those two. So I think Ewan's definitely going to want to make that pass as we come down at the final turn. It's such a hard turn that you turn in and you think you have more space than you do, and before you know it, you've seen a wall hit your right front.
Yeah, that wall is treacherous if you go a little bit too fast, because there's absolutely no runoff whatsoever once you hit it, obviously.
It doesn't look like Ewan Pattinson got the run that he wanted there. Wonder if he maybe took a bit of grass. There's a lock-up by Edwards. I wonder if maybe Pattinson will now make the move. Just no space. These Skippys just not having enough acceleration to get past one another without the draft.
Edwards looks like he's lacking a bit of pace here again, and we've seen that lock-up as well. Especially last season, we saw that quite a lot from him, where we didn't see a lot of other drivers lock up. So I'm wondering if he's running some different tire pressures to try and keep up, and it's just not working. But still sitting in 5th, so still a good point stay for him. Championship.
Sorry, big lock-up in the background there. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there.
Oh, that's an even bigger lock-up. That was Adam Miles, I believe. They are dropping back, or he's dropped back from Simonson and PM Jones. About half a second, so that's going to let those guys close in. Again, Adam Miles, he must have had a massive look-up. That looked like almost he'd been doing a drift like Nathan Wade did earlier, but still holding on to 3rd, so see what he can do. Looking back now from Benny Simmons and coming down across the start-finish line, PM Jones looking to the inside, and he will have the lead by the time they get to the sweeper. The kink here before Coca-Cola corner, he backs out wisely there, Simonson to try and save as much time as possible, and then he just leaves the lead to PM Jones. So if they can manage to get away here, it's going to be a 2-car race, but it does not look like that is about to happen, because Adam Miles still just under 9 or 8 tenths behind, so still within touching distance, but that lockup definitely cost him a chance at the lead here, as we've already completed 7 laps out of the 20, so approaching halfway here.
Yeah, those guys in that little pack behind just need to work together. If they can work together, they'll have the pace to get up to those leaders. It looks like, as we know, the more they fight up the front, Jones and Simonson, they are going to lose that time, but it does look like they've closed up a little bit of a gap. It is still about 1.3, 1.4 seconds from the leader, from P3 back, but it does look like maybe working together now a little bit, seeing as they are fighting, but it really is now anyone's game for that podium after Adam Miles made that mistake. As you can see, they really are using all of the track available to get everything out of this car.
Pattinson in behind Edwards here. Edwards goes a little bit to defend here. Pattinson trying to look to the outside, but he backs out again. Does not want to make a move there and cost him a chance at keeping up with the front 4. Wisely done there by Pattinson, but it looks like he really wants to go by Simon Edwards. Edwards is lacking pace for some reason. We're on wood here with him again. And that gap, you can see the leader, he's just so close, within touching distance, but there is 4 more cars to pass before you're at the leaders if you're Ewan Pattinson, so he just has to be patient. He's still got 12 laps to do something, and one bad move and that win will be well out of reach for him. Simonson though still right on the back of PM Jones, and one move in one other corner than the first one from Simonson on PM Jones, and that gap will be gone. It's just under a second now down to Adam Miles, so these guys closing back up, and they're all getting drafted now down the straightaway as well, as we see them coming over the curb there again, well close to the track limit here again, coming through the second to final corner into the last corner now, and the third group, or second group as it'll be now, is not too far behind either, just 3.5 seconds from Pattinson down to Booker in 7th, as we're on board here now, going down straightaway again. And we have a move for the third place, that's Miles getting passed by Von Roberts, as well as Edwards going defensive again on Pattinson. So Von Roberts taking over third place, and that's going to give the leaders a little bit more breathing space once again.
Yeah, I think Pattinson's just going to have to lick the stamp and send it at this point if he wants any chance of a podium. Doesn't look like Edwards has a pace. It does look like they are sort of dropping back. The more he defends and the more they fight a little bit and have a bit of a tussle, they do fall back a bit, and Vaughn Roberts now definitely going to want, in that clean air, a little bit of clean air at least, going to want to attack those leaders and maybe catch up to them.
Guys behind as well, they're doing everything they can. Booker, Wade, Williams and Matic, they've just been single file for the last few laps here, not much happening back there at all. Seeing Williams here in 9th, still behind Booker and Wade like it was a few laps ago, and just as we say that, Booker goes a little bit wide, but he's able to get back on the track again without losing too much, and then Williams goes wide on the curb on the left hand kink there, now coming back onto the straightaway. And not too sure if they're just lined up in the order of their pace, or if they're trying to catch back up to the leaders, but last time by they lost a couple of tenths, and this time it looks like they're going to do the same. Now here comes Wade up the inside of Booker, going to be passing him for 7th place. We're on board here with Mattock. Williams just sitting back behind, lifts out really early. Booker, Mattock, sorry, has to slam on the brakes as well there to not run into Williams as they're swapping positions ahead, but these guys just having a little bit of a battle of their own, and now Seth Brown is closing in from behind again with that pass, so 5-car battle again as Brown made a little mistake earlier and dropped back, but he's catching back up, so definitely an opportunity there again for a top 10. But at the front it's still PM Jones and Simonson, and they're doing a great job. Last time by they had the exact same lap time as well.
Oh wow, that just shows how closely they are in terms of skill and how close they are in pace. It's so close. I'm just actually watching that, compared to that second group we were watching on board with George Mattock. The braking point that they use is different to the leaders. It's a little bit further back, and that's just showing the skill difference in how much confidence they have in these cars. As we come down the run, coming on to lap 12 now. Or is it? No, lap 11, my apologies. No, it is lap 12. Sorry. You're going to have a look up the inside, right up the back of Anthony Jones, getting a little bit squirrely on the front end. Of course, having that dirty air, keeping the car stable is a bit more of a challenge.
Looks almost like he's wishing he was in a stock car there going down straightaway, so he could bump draft him ahead of him, pull him away from the guys behind. But you can't really do that in the Skippys. I'm not too sure if they will hold up for that, but maybe he can try. Definitely trying to force PM Jones to go faster though, as he does not want to make a move, coming over the bridge here again, constantly turning to the right around this section.
That was a lot of grass. It looked like Vaughn Roberts was actually catching them for a little bit, but it looks like he's actually dropped back. Adam Miles actually catching him now. So it really is now anyone's guess for who will be third. That is a big slide out wide.
Traffic coming into play here as well, with just 8 laps to go now, so still anything that can happen. That's 2 lap cars just up ahead. I believe that would be Mod Kiko and David Clapham, if I'm not mistaken, but we will see. We're still a couple of laps away from catching those guys, or guy and gal if that's the drivers who it is. Still PM Jones leading the way as well. We have them here. It's actually Simon Thorns, who is already a lap down, and Chris Wright ahead of him, who's also already a lap down, so that's why it didn't show up properly on my scoreboard. So those guys have already been lapped once. I believe they were in that start incident, so that might be why they are so far back, but they're battling for position because they're on the same lap, so Not too sure if they will move out of the way. Still battling for a point here, so anything to gain for those two as well. PM Jones still leading the way though. That time by they pulled about 1.5 tenths on the second group of 4 cars there. So Nicholas Von Roberts not really keeping up with PM Jones and Simonsen anymore, and I'm wondering if that is simply down to Simonsen not making a move on PM Jones, as we see them go a little bit wide here. Just as the leaders come into the screen there, they go side by side, they change positions. Thorns goes by right. Oh, he pulls out late. I wonder if they made contact. That looked like it was really close though.
That was very close. And any
and
bit
he
of
pulled
net
over
code.
on the apex, I think, as well in the final corner. Wow.
Yeah. No, you can't pull over in the apex. You gotta slow down even to a stop. Very interesting place. Interesting way of getting out of the way. But that, any form of net code there, that was death for one of these top 2.
Thorn's doing a great job there, staying out of the way though. Looks like he's gonna let the rest of the guys go here down in Shell or Championship Curve as we come underneath the bridge. PM Jones and Simonsen though, they lost a 10th in that lap, so the gap is coming down again. That's still Simon Thorns in between them, so that's not 3rd place that's catching up. Looks like they're not caught up to him just yet though, so he's not just going to pull over and let them go by until they catch him. So he's got every right to be there. As we have a replay here, Simonsen actually backs out a bit, just tried to get out of the way and did it a bit too abruptly and almost lost the car. So great job still holding on to that and not causing a collision. And balls to steal from Simonsen there to stay in it and just go around him, and PM Jones as well, obviously. But Von Roberts still about 1.5 seconds behind. They're not really keeping up, as Pattinson has made a mistake and dropped back a little bit as well from Simon Edwards. Wonder if that might have been due to a lap car or not. I'm not really sure. No, they haven't passed him yet. They're passing him now. So Pattinson has made a mistake on his own, and he's been caught by the second group there, almost, of Wade, Booker, Williams and Matta.
Yeah, just watching, just when I watched that incident, it did look like, Benny Simonsen just slammed on the brakes there, just in a bit of panic, I'm sure, but we thought that he was going to come in and have a collision with him, and that cost him quite a bit of time on the straight. But I think what Benny's plan is at the moment is to just wait behind Anthony Jones and then maybe on the last lap go for a move, because they just don't have enough draft to get before that line. They don't have enough drive to get past him, so I reckon he'll be able to hold on if he can make a move quite soon.
3 wins so far this season for Benny Simonsen. Anthony PM Jones yet to get a win, so a 4th win for Simonsen or a first-time win of the season for PM Jones. Could go either way, or it could fall in the hands of Nicholas Von Roberts if they go together. See him sliding again there, Simonsen, and he's not really right on the back of him now anymore, but I guess coming down the straight he's going to close back up again. I think he's feeling like he's got control of this, as we've got 5 laps to go, and this time by they're going to do a 1:13.4, both of them with the group behind doing a 13.3, so 1/10 closer there for Nicholas Von Roberts, but that gap is still 1.9 seconds now, so it's still too much, and Simonsen right on the back of PM Jones. One little mistake and they're just going to get into each other, but PM Jones holding the leader as he has a look at the inside. Looks almost like PM Jones let him go, but he probably didn't. But Simonsen back into the lead as PM Jones goes a little bit wider, gets some gravel, and that's going to help the cars behind close in. It's already down to 1.5, 1.4. Tries to cross over, but Benny Simonsen to the lead.
Yeah, that was a really good move by Simonsen. I think he got tired of waiting. Yeah, good move up the inside. Did look like Anthony Jones let him sort of have that one. As you can see, he's pulling away a bit now, Benny Simonsen. But we saw how close they were in qualifying. So we knew that it was going to be a very close race, and kind of want Anthony Jones to win for his first win. But we'll see what happens, I guess. 5 to go as they come down the front straight.
Really close to the wall there again, all of them, and Nicholas Von Roberts has pulled away now from Adam Miles and Simon Edwards. He's getting close as we get a replay here of the pass. He puts his nose up the inside, and PM Jones just brakes a little bit early to make sure, and goes by to make sure they don't make any contact. But Nicholas Von Roberts is now right on the back of PM Jones. He's really got some speed in that machine. That time by he gained over half a second, 7/10 of a second on Benny Simonsen, and over a second on Anthony PM Jones because of that pass. So one move other than turn 1 and that gap was gone Juan Roberts to see if he can pick the pace up. He might be within a shot of a win here, as we're back here with Wade, Booker, Williams and Matic, who are still together, with Williams in third place in this group and Matic in fourth. It's Wade and Booker changing back and forth for the lead, but Nathan Wade has pulled a slight gap now, not too much, but he's held this position for a couple of laps, so see what he will be able to do. And they're not really closing in on Ewan Pattinson ahead either. That gap is still just under 2 seconds, so one little more mistake there from Pattinson and they could catch him, but it does not look likely at this point, as we're coming to 3 to go now as they're coming around the final corner. Benny Simonson though still leading the way ahead of PM Jones, Juan Roberts, Miles and Edwards. 5 cars now in that lead group, covered in under 2 seconds. So still anybody's races. Here comes Williams with a move for P number 8. Booker is trying to defend slightly, but Williams up the inside. He will get that position and he will be clear by the time they get to the kink, and he's going to have 8th position into the braking zone now, right on the back of Wade. He's going to go a little bit wide though, Booker back on the inside, but Williams will have the speed coming out of the corner. Now Matic right on the back here as well. They pulled away again from Seth Brown, who caught up to them earlier. So once again a battle from 7th down to 10th, but these guys have been going at it all race long, so winning this battle within the race I think would still feel like a win for some of them.
Yeah, for sure, especially having a good nice battle is always great fun, especially in the sim. Getting on, having a good nice little battle. They've been battling all race here, going off track there for Booker. I'm still fascinated by how much they really use all of that track. Those tires are literally on the white line in that first sector. Look at that. Any further over to the right and that is going to put you into the wall or have you spin into the wall. But we can see now as well, Vaughan Roberts is within 5/10 of that leader, so he's within 3/10 of Anthony Jones. He's well caught up now to them, so could he have a look up the inside on the final lap with 2 to go?
Well, he might try. Definitely pulled away from Miles and Edwards though, so it's definitely a battle among these 3 drivers, but for Roberts to get all the way to the lead I think is going to be too much to ask, but he could definitely get 2nd place unless these lap cars ahead get in the way. We've seen that happen before. This time it's David Clapham, so don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. It's just a 1 car, so I think he's going to get out of the way nicely if the leaders catch him here on the white flag. But Nicholas Von Roberts definitely have made a great drive here to catch up. Last time by he caught up another 3/10, so right on the back now of PM Jones as we're coming down through O'Brien Aluminum dogleg and into Recaro corner to get the white flag and start the final lap here. Simonson, Jones or Nicholas Von Roberts, who is going to get the checkered flag here, or might even be Miles or Edwards if something is to happen. On board now with Simonson looking back at PM Jones, and it doesn't look like he's getting any closer going down the straightaway, even though he's got the draft. So Simonson with great straight line speed. You can see Von Roberts a little bit late in the break, so that would be why he had the draft from the lap car. That's why Simonson was able to pull away nicely out of the way there though. And into the next corner, PM Jones is going to be close, but not close enough to do anything. Everybody using pretty much the same line there on the exit as well. Again, Von Roberts right on the back of PM Jones, and Jones has to race 2 ways now. He has to race the car ahead of him as well as look out the mirrors to make sure he covers off Von Roberts, which makes it twice as hard for Jones. Definitely not an easy task, but Von Roberts right there for 1 mistake to happen. A few more corners to go now. Coming up over the crest in Momo corner. 3 more corners to go, and I'm not really too sure if there is any overtaking opportunities left around this track unless it's going to make an absolute dive at it. Going into the final corner, here comes Benny Simonson with the lead. PM Jones is not close enough to do anything, and I'm not sure it's going to be enough on the straight either. Right on the back though, the lap car is going to help Simonson, who will get the checkered flag and win his 4th race of the season here at Oran
very
Park.
good race.
Great race behind as well, but Miles will hold off Simon Edwards, and then Pattinson. Nathan Wade is pulled away from Williams and Booker as well to get 7th, and Matic all the way down in 10th. And we have a battle between Bernowski and Peasley for 12th and 13th, but that was pretty intense. At the end we had 3 cars at least battling for the win, but it's just not enough overtaking opportunities around here.
Yeah, the track with all those turns and different variations in the track of the height, it is just a bit too hard to turn, because if you're not taking the right line through the corner, you're getting off camber on the tires, and you're going to get too much wheel spin, and you're going to spin. So Benny Simonson, clearly that move up the inside was worth losing the time to Nick Vaughan Roberts. And we see the results now. If you want to take it away, Lance.
Benny Simonson, 4 wins in 7 races. Another outstanding performance by him. Just under 2 tenths ahead of Anthony P.M. Jones in second, and Nicholas Vaughan Roberts after a great drive in third. Adam Miles in fourth, Simon Edwards in fifth. Ewan Pattinson held on to 6th at the end, and Nathan Wade won that third group battle to finish 7th, with Clark Williams in 8th, Martin Booker in 9th, and George Mattock rounding out the top 10. Then we have Seth Brown, Andrew Bernowski, Ray Peasley, Dave M. Dowson, Kevin Budgeon, Christopher Miles, Will Redfoot drove all the way up to 17th from, I believe that was 28th or 29th somewhere. And then Kieran O'Flynn in 18th, Neil Andrews in 19th, Dave Kirkman in 20th, Alan Patterson, the league organizer, in 21st, Mod Kiko in 22nd, and David Clapham, the final car on the lead lap. So he was able to hold off the leaders there at the end. And then we have the last few cars, 2 or more laps down, quite a few cars that were involved in that start incident, and that was, I think, one of the biggest crashes I've seen here in the Monday Night Skippy, surprisingly, because it usually happens on the bigger tracks, but one little roadblock there and it was enough to close off 8 or 9 cars.
Yeah, that was, I did say, got to be careful into turn 1, and we saw the incident. It just looked like one got out of shape, and then the rest of them just didn't react quick enough to get around it, so big pile up. But that was a very good race to watch. It was sort of like watching Verstappen and Hamilton go around a track, going back and forth between the lead.
Give a shout out as well to Nicholas Vaughan Roberts, the only driver to lap under the 1:13. So he had the fastest lap with a 1:12.993 there, 2 laps from the end. So a great drive from him. But first up for the post-race interviews is Nathan Wade. Nathan, you were in that second, or should we call it third group, battling from 7th down to 10th, 11th, 12th with Williams, Booker and Mattock the whole race. And you ended up winning that battle. Congratulations. How was your race?
Hi guys. Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with it, to be honest. I should have stayed with the front pack, although I don't think I'd have been able to overtake any of them because of the track, obviously. But I made a mistake, I think on like lap 2 or 3, where I almost lost it, and I'm glad, I think it was Martin that actually slowed down and didn't go into the back of me, because that could have completely ended both our races. Other than that, I was quite slow initially in the race, but once I got past Martin, I think the second time, I was just able to pull like a big enough gap in the middle of the track, so that on the straight he couldn't come anywhere near me. Other than that, it was pretty smooth race.
It was a quality drift on lap 2. It looked very, very nice on camera.
I bet it did actually. I was a little bit worried about it, but yeah, it was style points. That's what I was going for.
Might have cost you a position or 2, but still it keeps the fans happy getting to see cars going sideways, even in the Skippies. Anybody you want to send a shout out to?
You guys for running the broadcast, as always. You guys do a great job. Alan for running the league, and then of course everyone in that group I was with. So Martin, George, and Clark, I believe. Clean racing all the way. So, and I'm glad also with the back markers. I'm glad they didn't. They just pulled out the way. Obviously they don't have to with the rules with iRacing and stuff, but I'm glad they did. So yeah, good race.
Cool, thanks for joining us, and see you again next week. Next up we have another guy from that battle, unfortunately the guy that finished last of those 4, George Mattock, still from 11th to 10th, and great race with those guys all race long. How was your race? Looks like, oh there we go. George? Looks like he's having some technical issues. Give him a couple of minutes, otherwise just wait for a little bit later. Can you hear us, George? Right, we will try again in a couple of minutes with you. Head on to Andrew Bernowski. Take it away, Daniel.
Sorry, you put me on the spot. Andrew, good racing coming up P12. How was your race, man?
Hey, good evening. Yeah, it's tough. I was just I was stuck in a bit of a no man's land. I lost touch of that sort of second group quite early on. Really struggled with the entry into turn 1 and 2 and that braking zone, and ended up losing touch of the pack and losing that draft. Had a really good battle with Ray Peasley, so big shout out to him for a great race and keeping it clean. Pushed as hard as I could, but just couldn't make any progress.
Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
As usual, shout out to Seth. Yeah, and you guys, thank you very much for the broadcasts. And yeah, thanks.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. We'll try again with George. Are you there?
I am here. Sorry, I was on my PC and I couldn't hear anything, so I switched to my MacBook. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. All good.
Good stuff. Sorry about that.
So, 11th to 10th, you were in that battle with Wade Williams, Booker Matic, a bit of Brown and Bernowski as well, all race long. Looked pretty intense from where we were sitting. How was the race from your point of view?
Yeah, it was alright. A bit dull. Since Nathan spun and saved it, we lost the pack. So I think I had definitely more pace than P10. I think I finished P10. So shame really, because I think we could have got higher up without the spin, but from Nathan. But yeah, it is what it is. It was just a quiet one. I was trying to sit back and wait for the carnage, and then the one moment I had the chance in the last lap, and yes, Martin cut in front of me at turn 2, and that was my wing gone. So yeah, I didn't really have a chance after that. I was trying to stay on the track because there was quite horrendous damage on the front. But yeah, P11 to P10 is it's not great, but yeah, still points at the end of the day.
Definitely a step in the right direction as well, unlike some others. Had a little parking lot there in turn 1 at the start. So anybody you want to send a shout out to?
Shout out to you, of course, for the broadcast, and to Alan for doing the league. Everyone in the Monday Night Skippys, usually very good, good fun, and pretty safe. So yeah, looking forward to Imola next week. That's probably I'd say my best track. I'm not sure I'm gonna be having much practice because I've got a busy week, but yeah, hopefully have a good one next week.
We hope so too. Thank you for joining us, and that looks like it's it for post-race interviews. Only 3 today, so a little bit less than usual, but I think we've been spoilt with it this season, so 3 we'll have to do. Any final thoughts on the race there, Daniel?
It was a good one. I really enjoyed watching that race, watching that battle between 1, 2, and eventually 3. I wish we could have maybe got Vaughan Roberts a bit closer, a bit earlier, so that maybe there was that little bit more of a battle. But it was a good race. I enjoyed that one. I will definitely be back for Imola this time, and I mean that. I'm not going to then miss 2 races. I will definitely be back for Imola. I do love it. It is a good and hard track to master.
Well, time zone's not the best friends always when we live different parts of the world, but it's been a great one here today. Next week, like you said, we head to Imola GP or Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari and the Grand Prix layout. But that is in 1 week's time. You've been watching the UK&I Monday Night Skippys live here on RaceSpotTV in support of the Calm Zone. My name is Linus Broström. I've been joined by Daniel Harris with Hugo Lees, as always, doing the amazing job on the cameras. Until next week, take care everybody, stay safe and goodbye.